Courage to me is the ability to overcome fear.
Woody didn't go on to Iwo Jima as a flamethrower. He went on as a demolitions specialist. But when the other 6 were killed in the first 3 days, Woody didn't have any choice, I'm sure, in his own mind. He knew he had to do what he had to do. So the men around him, I'm sure when they saw Woody step up and put that first flamethrower on his back, thought, that's a Marine, that's a hero, that's a man with courage.
I am anything but a hero. I really am not. I've never been able to explain adequately a hero. I have always advocated that the heroes are those who paid the final sacrifice with their life. Those are the true heroes.
When they're away deployed, you're always worried about them.
It was about 8:30 on that Monday night, September 26, 2005. And that's when we lost him. The whole family's affected, the brothers, the sisters, the cousins. That whole situation has changed forever.
You don't get over it, you just find ways to cope.
The objective of the Gold Star Family's Memorial Monuments is to, of course, honor and pay tribute to the Gold Star families, to give them a place to go, to reflect and know that we have not forgotten their heroes.
I think that's one of the reasons we're such a supporter of Woody Williams, is that he realizes losing someone in service to our country affects more than just the mothers.
I mean, a lot of folks don't know what to say to a Gold Star family, someone that's lost a son or daughter or aunt, uncle, grandparent in the military. A lot of folks don't know what to say, but Woody seems to find the courage to say whatever's needed to say then and there.
It's not about Woody, it's about the Gold Star families. He wants every state to be proud of those who gave the ultimate sacrifice and those survivors, that they have somewhere they can go and remember the name of their loved one.
We're doing something that has a meaning to a tremendous number of people who have never been recognized.
Woody, knowing that it had never been done, it needed to be done, and he felt like he had a platform to do it, and now to see all that coming to fruition and having now 7 monuments in 5 states and 24 to 26 others that are being planned all across the country, it has re-energized him.
Woody is a phenomenon. I mean, he's wonderful.
Wherever he goes, he commands an audience. And he's soft-spoken, as you know, but he's very articulate, he's caring. He's everyone's grandfather.
He's my hero. These experiences with Gold Star families go all the way back to his childhood. I think it's his legacy.
When we go to visit there, I have a feeling of pride, that our sons are not being forgotten. Woody is committed to the foundation.
He has a vision, and we are helping him carry that out to honor Gold Star families in all 50 states.
I have said that I will attempt to attend every dedication of a monument. So far, I've been able to meet that. It is very emotional, and I think a little bit amazing to them. Now they have something that represents the sacrifice of those families. which has never existed in our country before. This monument pays tribute and honors the families of those who sacrificed one or more of their loved ones in the armed forces of the United States for our freedom.
Hi, this is the Greg and Donny show, Donny News show. This is a very special show. This is part 2 of our show. I'm Greg Penglis and this is Donny West. And you just watched an amazing film on what the Gold Star family is all about and what it means for all the Gold Star families to have this memorial. And so we need your help. We need to raise some funds for this, and we'll talk about that a little bit. We had Ed Spears here earlier. He had to leave, unfortunately. But we will have this information posted on this YouTube that you have, and we want you to share it. I want you to share it. Send this around the country. Send this around to your friends. If anybody has Gold Star families that they want to unite with other Gold Star families, you know, these folks know organizations, they know all kinds of things that will be able to help you. And so, different than our usual liberal, conservative, political show, this is something that unites all of us, because you know, when people, you know, join the service, when they don't fight for political ideology, they fight for America. And so I'm just really happy to be here, and I'll turn it back to you guys and let you want to reintroduce yourselves, kind of go around again, and just anything you want to share about why you're here. We had that from you two. You guys have been kind of quiet. So I'm going to get you involved. So if you're just joining us for the second part, we are trying to get a memorial, and we had to get the video to show it to you. And this is a special show. I'm really proud to be doing this.
Can I just say it's such an honor to be here with all of you?
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Of course.
I think that it sits at this table as just a small group of people who are involved with this. There's many other people in the shadows that aren't here that participated in bringing this together. And
you don't want to mention or anything you want to talk about it?
I don't have the list that's missing from the committee here, but Dave, you might want to mention
Susie Sibley is mother to Staff Sergeant Forrest Sibley, who was ambushed, shot, and killed, along with Captain Sartain, also was killed from the Air Force. And Jordan Sibley is Forrest's sister, who I've known before the incident with her brother. And both Susie and Jordan are on this committee. And Lynn has just joined us in the last week or so. When she found out about it, she was all in immediately. And what we're finding is, as Gold Star family members hear about it, they want to know how to get involved. Even and non-Gold Star family members are the same. We have a few folks that are out there that have expressed interest in supporting not that they won't write a check, but they would like to support fundraising by underwriting a fundraiser event and paying for the logistics, foods and drinks and that kind of thing. Yeah. So we can have an event. So part of what we're going to do with your piece here, Greg and Donny, is to help promote that event whenever we're able to schedule it. And then there's been some other folks that have come to the table and said, well, let me know what I can do when at the right time. And so it's gaining a lot.
What they might want to do is just take this video and have friends and family over and just share it. And maybe, you know, because the websites are there, they can you know, pass on some funds to you guys directly. So you have like a party, you kind of invite people over, and then let's do something useful with it. You feel free.
We've got a very benevolent business community in Pensacola.
Okay.
I've had the opportunity to work on a number of different projects with the Veterans Memorial Park. And once the word gets out, you know, we usually have quite a following of folks that are, you know, they'll step up to the plate, especially a lot of the small businesses, because they're the people that have lost people, that know people who have the connections. And one of the things that, you know, right now we're going into a pretty good economy. We're in a growth spurt here. A lot of people coming from other places that, you know, like what we've done here with the park. And one of those things is I get to talk to a lot of people militarily through reunion coordinating. A lot of military units, especially the older folks, that can only travel so far, they can only do so many events at a reunion site. They're finding out that Pensacola is great because, you know, you've got everything here. You want to go to the beach, you got a beach. You got a focal point in the park to do any kind of fraternal thing for your organization or whatever. And, you know, you stand back and you say, well, that's great, you got the veterans and so on and so forth. But, you know, the business community, you know, whether they're military connected benevolently or just the fact that it's part of their economy, they look at this, and basically if you look at heads in beds, you know, for the hospitality industry, you got restaurants, you got a lot of new things doing up, and these people that come here, you know, I get inquiries all the time from my military connections that, you know, what's to do in Pensacola? Say, well, you know, from a military veterans reunion standpoint, you know, you've got one of the nicest parks in the country, and I've seen a lot of them. And so we're looking at, once this gets some notoriety, people get to look at it, see what we're trying to do. And they talk about it, they ask about it, and they find out their next door neighbor, you know, maybe a Gold Star sister, brother, father, mother, whatever, all of a sudden it becomes personal. And for the most part, the business folks around here want to get on board because this is their community too, and it's, you know, they're making an investment here. You know, somebody up in Missouri, hey, we got one of these monuments in Missouri, you know, and you come down here and you can basically tell your friends, see, this is what we did.
Well, share the video. Like I said, all of our discussion can be shared. So this conversation, we're not just doing this one time. It's not like a one-time, you know, TV thing. You can show this as much as you want to as many people as you want, to as many businesses as you want. To, I mean, this is for you to be able to share and make the best use of this conversation. So yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting. I mentioned there's a lot of veteran-owned businesses in this area as well.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference.
They're benefiting, you know, people coming here in droves now. And a lot of them are, you know, we were down there a couple weeks ago for the chief selectees. You know, the Navy chiefs have been, you know, they've been selected for the rank of chief and everything else, and they go through a process, you know. And one of them is, you know, a historical, you know, lecturing, and where they go to the Veterans Memorial Park down here, and they'll walk through from monument to monument, and they're explained to, you know, hey, look, you have a responsibility. For them, it's a different walk in the park, because now they, as you know, active duty military, what's imposed upon them is their responsibility for what's gone on before them. But while we were there and I was observing all this going on, I was observing other people, you know, that didn't know each other going through the park, but they were all doing different things. So I just mosey around and what brings you here? Well, we got a reunion for such and such, and we're here, and there's a group of us and everything else. And how about you? Well, same thing. These people didn't know each other, but they found out that they're here for the same thing. And this, you know, we really are looking forward to people coming aboard, you know, to put this monument together. You know,
are you working with other veterans organizations?
We've just started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any particular?
Well, Marine Corps League's always been out front, you know, and, you know, we've got some other ones, you know, the Heroes Among Us is going tonight.
Let's not know that. We should, that's a hero? No, it's a different organization.
Yeah, but a Heroes, one of them.
Look at David. This is Dave Glassman. I'm going to tell him about the Heroes Among Us and a hero, two other great organizations. As he walks away. Not bad. He's back.
Back, it's a paper.
Multitasking.
Commercial time.
Commercial time.
Here's how you can help us out.
Really, special order.
That's for our Rubio breaks, which we haven't explained yet. Remember Marco Rubio when he did that?
Yeah.
That thing?
Oh, yeah.
So every time we take a water break, we call it a Rubio break. So it's just the language of the Greg and Donny show.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't all have to be about service, sacrifice, sadness, misery, and loss. It can also be about celebrating those types of organizations and the people that make up those organizations within our community that are keeping the torch alive for the community, being that catalyst for educational reasons, meaning volunteering to give a tour to a school of elementary or middle school kids at the park. In the case of Heroes Among Us, which is an initiative that was started by the Marine Corps League, and the former Commandant, Colonel Caveman Holsworth, kind of came up with the idea, if I recall correctly. I'm pretty sure it was him. But that we have all of these incredible stories, veterans and warriors, and stories that are held within the personal histories of so many people in our community, and why not expose those individuals and those stories through a kind of organized and scheduled speaker series down at the park. We used the Marine Aviation Memorial Bell Tower that was dedicated to the greater Pensacola Bay area as kind of our stage for the presentation for the speakers. And that bell tower commemorates 100 years of Marine Corps aviation. It also pays tribute to those Marines and other service members that have died in the service to this nation while serving with Marine units. And the Corporal J.R. Spears Detachment of the Marine Corps League meets there every last Thursday of the month from May through October to put on the Heroes Among Us speaker series, where they go out and identify our local veterans and in some cases active duty service members to come and share their stories and tell the general public that are willing to be there and listen what their story is and how it's impacted their lives. And so it's kind of a give back to the individual veteran that in a lot of cases feel like, well, my time is done and I'm out to pasture. Well, maybe not so fast. Why don't you come here and expose your stories, your life to the younger generation and do that inspiration thing. So Heroes Among Us speaker series.
Can I say something about that? So a few months ago, one of the speakers for the Heroes Among Us series was retired Sergeant Major Brian Battaglia, who was the former senior enlisted advisor to the Joint Chief of Staff. And when my husband was killed, he wrote me a letter to offer his condolences. And I went to that speaker series that night and I got to meet him. And it was really awesome getting to meet him. And he gave me his challenge coin.
Yeah.
So that's just another way all of these veteran organizations, or like even our Gold Star group, everything is connected somehow. Someone has a connection, like it gets smaller and smaller, like the connections. So I just wanted to say how awesome that was.
And what's the challenge coin? For those that aren't sure.
Would someone like to explain challenge coins? A veteran in here? Maybe one of the veterans.
A challenge coin is typically representative of a unit, a different military unit, and sometimes it can represent an individual office, like the Commandant of the Marine Corps has his own challenge coin. But typically it's a unit. HMH 466 is the helicopter squadron that actually the challenge coin. So we theoretically, you can at a bar pull out the challenge coin and challenge somebody, and they have to show their coin.
Okay.
If they don't show their coin, they're going to buy somebody a drink.
Okay.
Here's one.
One should always carry. Should we get a close up of this? Can we bring this up? I'm just curious.
Pass it out.
Yeah. We can improvise here. This is very cool.
And there is a Gold Star Families Memorial challenge coin that's out there, I think, and mine is at home, so I have to buy everyone around. Good thing we're not in a bar. But
they do have some coins that they do for like certain events and things like that, like the.
They've kind of commercialized it, the officers get the real fancy ones. But originally that started with the mercenaries. The mercenaries of old in the continent of Africa, mostly with the French Para. And whenever a mercenary group would liberate a village, if they had a coin of the realm of the village, local coins, the unit that liberated that, usually the mayor of the village would give the mercenaries that fought for them and with them a coin from that village. And everybody from that unit carried that coin forever, so that someday, 50 years down the road, a couple old engineers or mercs are sitting in a bar and checking out each other's scars and seeing which guy is going to fall off the bar stool first. And you know, they look at each other, you know, where were you at and everything else. And he pulls out his coin. And the guy next to him, if he can't pull out a coin and slap it down on the bar, he lies.
It's such a wonderful fine tradition.
It's just an old, you know, tradition. And
so basically, the concept of moderation has definitely played into the love story of challenge coins. But one other thing about Heroes Among Us, and that is not just the community education aspect of it and keeping those stories alive, but also the philanthropic component of Heroes Among Us is the Veterans in Distress Fund that the Corporal J.R. Spears Detachment, Marine Corps League Detachment has come up with on its own. And so at these events, they use them as fundraisers. The young Marines, anywhere from 8 to 18 years old, in little Marine Corps uniforms, are very organized, and they come out with they pass the bucket around, and they raise a few dollars at these events. And they put that in the kitty, so to speak. And the league has been very successful in raising nearly $200,000 doing that over the last, I believe it's nearly 200. And they have, what they do with that Veterans in Distress Fund is they just simply write checks to veterans that are in need. Now, there is a vetting process and all of that, but you'd be amazed how many vets come back, and because they're trained and they're proud and they've been successful, they don't typically share their stories with when it's bad news or negativity. So a lot of times we find veterans get into a very stressful financial situation, and the Marine Corps League is able to help out through this thing. So good plug for the Marine Corps.
Yes, it's kind of sad in this country right now that we have so many veterans that are having problems coming back in, because it has to be, and I can't speak to this, too many folks can, an adjustment from, especially from a combat situation to a civilian situation. Because we've talked, when we had on WBY, about, we've done shows. We have like Matt Williams from Vet Church and some of the other people that are helping. He's an Army chaplain. It's just such a huge adjustment. I don't think a lot of people really understand. I don't understand because I haven't experienced it. That adjustment from a military to a civilian life, and what kind of stresses and problems that causes.
I just think there's a massive change, especially for somebody who goes overseas and engages the enemy. There's such a massive change from, not everybody's from around here, right? But when you're coming from small town America and you're 17, 18 years old, and you're coming to a recruiter with all 17 or 18 years of your life's experiences, your genetics, and your community, you show up and then you find yourself at recruit training or boot camp and 2 feet on yellow footprints, and they break you down and they tell you you're worthless, and then they go through a building process, and at the end of that process they put something in your hand. In the case of the Marine Corps, it's that eagle globe and anchor. And for 12 or 13 weeks of that type of training and breakdown, that's what you've earned, is the title of Marine. And it's similar in all the services. It's not a big celebration, for at least not for more than 24 hours when you graduate recruit training or boot camp. And then you go off to your operational command and you meet your new unit, and you get specialized in handling a weapons system, and you operate as a team, and you gain rank and responsibility, and then all of a sudden your country asks you to go overseas and engage the enemy. And that's the culmination of everything that you've done from the time that you left your family and your community to the time that you've now come off the C-130 or the C-5 or got off USS boat in some foreign place where the indigenous people want to kill you. And then you shoot and move and maneuver and eat MREs for long periods of time. And I'm speaking way out of turn here. Somebody like Sergeant Glover over there can talk about living on MREs for months at a time. But the point is, in a flash, something horrible can happen. Or maybe it's not in a flash. Maybe it's over a long duration of time. Maybe it's multiple experiences with losing friends. Maybe it's actually holding your friend as the last breath leaves his or her body. Maybe it's concussion from multiple improvised explosive devices, which is by and large the biggest source of our physical and what most people think are the wounds, say that they're psychological disorders. PTS is post-traumatic stress. It's not a disorder. It's an injury. It's what happens to the brain when it gets shook so much. If you shake a baby, you injure it. You don't give it a disorder. Disorder is something typically you're born with. And so PTSI, post-traumatic stress disorder, and TBI, traumatic brain injury, all these things, these folks are coming back. And in some cases, when they do come back, for example, Lynn's son, you know, is in his case overprescribed opiate-based pain meds and antidepressants to deal with what the VA will call a disorder. Well, it's not a disorder, and drugs may or may not be, or meds may or may not be what is really needed by that individual. So, you know, it kind of gets back to the whole community effort and the fact that it's what matters is the service to country and the family connection to that individual that's served, and that's why we're all here.
Do you find yourselves helping veterans, all veterans, as Gold Star members?
Absolutely. I'm involved with A Hero.
Okay.
The Marine Corps, when my husband was killed, treated me like family. I mean, I was already family because I was married to Dusty, but I mean, the entire Marine Corps embraced me as one of their own. And I mean, I'm closer to some of them than blood family. We're in the same community, Gold Stars and veterans. I'd say.
Dave, you want to open up to me a little bit about some of your experiences in a tower somewhere, I think it was, on watch?
Yeah, so I've been down some dark roads and struggled with depression a lot, hopelessness, just completely overwhelmed. And I've been in a tower, and I don't know if you've ever felt, you know, extreme emptiness. I know, you know, everybody, you know, the Gold Star families, they know what it feels like to grieve. They know what it feels like to have that void. The feelings that I had were just nothing, just indifferent, not a care. And when I say not a care, I mean nothing. Didn't care if I lived, didn't care if I died. I just didn't care. I struggled with suicide. This was shortly after my first real gunfight over there. I was sitting in the tower, and the guy that I was with, he got up to go use the latrine, and I sat there for about 5 minutes, just staring down the business end of my M4 with my thumb on the trigger, and just slowly pushing on it. And then I heard him coming back, and then let go of it. There was about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I was sitting up there again, and once again, went to go use the latrine. And I had my grenade in my hand at that time. And I pulled the primary safety out, took the secondary safety off, and was just feathering the spoon. And for those individuals that may not know what that means, that's just letting the spoon, the handle on the grenade, out more and more and more to the point that just where that spring-loaded pin in there flips. And once that flips, you can't undo that. You have 3 to 5 seconds before it goes off. And so I'd sit there and just kind of feather it back and forth, back and forth. And at the time, I had a 6-7-month-old daughter. And so I told myself, if this was something that I was going to do, I needed to look and see what I was leaving behind. And so I pulled out a picture of her and stared at that as I feathered the grenade. I didn't want to leave that. I didn't want to cause that hurt. And that is the only thing that saved my life, was having that picture of her. And
what do you think got you there? Was it the loss of life in combat? Was it the fear of losing your own life?
No. It was just a loss of, I don't know, to explain it.
Yeah.
It really is. It's just.
Now you got injured after that.
Yeah. So a few months after that, we were on a recon mission on a mountainside, going down a footpath, and there was no illumination, which means that there was no moon. It was a new moon, so we didn't have any starlight for our nods, our night optics. There was cloud cover, so it was pitch black, and we spent most of the time adjusting the focal point of our nods down at the ground. Then we did scanning down this little 2.5, 3 foot wide path on the side of this mountain, for enemy. We knew that if anybody was going to be out there, they'd be under flashlight. I mean, it was just kind of common sense for that, but we still had a job to do. So as we were moving down this footpath, take a step, stomp on the ground a little bit, check your footing, and then look up, scan around, look to see if you see any lights, see anything new, see any movement behind rocks. As I shifted my weight, the rock ledge underneath me gave out and went down this cliff, this mountainside, about 50, 60 feet, tumbling, where I slammed against a boulder, and broke my neck. And so I was just kind of laying there, banged up and beat up a little bit, thinking, wow, this really sucked. But.
And they knew you were there, they got you out of there, but they knew they had to brace you.
I knew, well, previously, so this is the second time I broke my neck. The first time.
Jesus, no. Don't do the third time.
So the first time was completely unrelated to any type of training or else. In the military at the time, I was downtown in Washington, D.C. at a pickup soccer game. I got flipped over a guy's back and landed on my head, got snapped backwards, and then there we go, my fingers are numb. Had a surgery done. Fast forward, 3 or 4 years later, I'm in Afghanistan, go down this mountainside, and I slammed against a boulder hard enough that it cracked my sacrum plate, and it bruised 3 vertebrae in my back, and my head snapped backwards like that, and I just felt it pop, 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 and then all of a sudden just a very intense, dull pop. And then at that point, I felt hands, fingers, arms just go completely numb. And I'm like, oh, okay, I know what this is. I've been down this road, and very intense, dull ache, but hot pain in my neck. And so as my squad, they're up at the top, and Sergeant Blocker, are you okay? Oh crap, he's dead. They immediately flip on to white light and start shining down there, asking if I'm okay. And I'm dazed, confused, because I just went down this cliff, sky floor, getting smashed in the face, and I'm just laying there, just thinking like, wow, this really sucks. And move my toes, yep, okay, move my toes, move my fingers, okay, I can feel my fingers moving, and they asked me if I needed help getting up, and kind of crawled back up the cliff, until they could do some hands and pull me up. Went back to the FOB and pretty much just continued out the rest of the deployment.
Like a broken neck.
Nice. Broken neck.
Yeah. Good for you. Not a good move, but you came back, finished out the deployment.
Yeah. Well, to me, it was again. It was that I didn't have any concern about myself.
Yeah.
There was zero concern about myself. I was there for Specialist Elias. I was there for Specialist Richter. I was there for my guys. Sergeant Rod. I mean, I was there for them, and I did not want to leave theater for any reason.
Well, I think it's an important part of bringing Gold Star families together is to have their stories, because these are the types of individuals that sign up to defend the nation that are represented by the families when some or many don't come home. And so from the standpoint of telling a more comprehensive story about Gold Star families, I think it's really important that you share, and I appreciate that.
Any regrets for joining the military?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Do it again like that.
Oh, yeah.
Any regrets for anybody who served?
What's that?
For the folks that we lost, any regrets that they went in?
Most veterans you ever asked, they
just say, gosh, I wish I had got out.
Okay.
Or they wish they could go back in. We always gladly do it again.
My husband always says they're doing what they love. They sign up because that's what they want to do, and if they die out there, they're doing what they meant to be doing at that time because they loved what they did.
Yeah.
My son did not want to get out.
Okay.
It's difficult for the older generations. I was a Vietnam veteran, 4 years in the Marine Corps, and it was difficult to see these younger generations go off, and you're watching them leave, but you think, hey, you want to step forward again, but you know your restrictions.
And you know what they're going to go through.
And this was even years ago, even when the first Gulf War took place. You want to see what you can do. Of course, at that time I was working for the government. Wouldn't get to go anyhow, so you always want to keep serving. And that's what kind of brings me to where I am here. I don't have anyone in my family that was Gold Star or that was killed in action, did in previous wars, but I always had family in the military, all my generations back to the Civil War. And now I have the conscience to try to help with the park and the endeavors for making sure that the first Gulf War has the memorial brought to the park, and also the Gold Star Memorial, which will be placed probably soon in the next, hopefully, year or so.
Yeah, we should remind folks again how to contribute, who has the official information, or should we just do the websites again on our video?
Well, there's two memorial initiatives that are being promoted and hosted by the Veterans Memorial Park of Pensacola. And there's a whole slew of different ways to donate and get involved financially. I guess the easiest is to send a check to the Veterans Memorial Park, which could be found on the footer of the website as far as the address.
Okay.
Just make it out to VNPF. And then in the memo line, you would say, you know, Gold Star Families Memorial, or Persian Gulf War Memorial, or General Fund donation. So that's the easiest way to just send a check for those who want to send a check. And then there's the Herschel Woody Williams Medal of Honor Foundation website, which is hwwmohf.org. And
we'll post that.
It's not easy, you'll post it.
Yeah.
But if you go there under projects, which is one of the main navigation buttons, there is a Pensacola project page, which is essentially our website. And it's all set up, it's live, it's ready to go, it's ready to take online donations, via credit card, or I think it'll do a check draft as well. But that's the preferred method. And then there's the third method with, Stan, if you get me a copy of that magazine, or somebody just send me a copy, pass down a copy of the magazine. Yeah, there is, no, not that one.
No, that's
Because we got one of those right here.
this one?
Which one?
Take two.
That one.
This one?
Yeah.
No.
It's the latest.
So
The latest one.
Stan was nice enough to talk about his intent.
Talking about a hero.
A hero.
Very visual.
His intent, Stan is a successful businessman in our community. He owns Bellevue Site Contractors, and he's done very well as far as gaining some large contracts to do some demolition work, where homes or neighborhoods are identified by county and state officials to be deemed in a flood zone, and they need to be torn down for whatever reason. And so typically the government will write a check, the family will move out, and now the house just needs to be demolished. Take all your belongings and go somewhere else, kind of thing. In this case, Stan has been able to dispatch crews to go into the different homes and pull out items of value and store them for some rainy day project, which is now upon him. And that is the Persian Gulf War Memorial, to not only pay tribute to the first Gulf War, which I think was a 43-day war in 1991, ended on March 3rd, I believe. February 28th of 91, we had roughly 149 killed in action over the total 39 or 43 days. Forgive me for forgetting the length of the war. It was relatively short. And up until 9/11, that was our latest declared war against Iraq, if you will, but somewhat forgotten, if not almost completely overshadowed by post 9/11 activities that happened with Operation Enduring Freedom, or Iraqi Freedom, and Enduring Freedom. And so Stan, through his relationship with the Chief Warrant Officer for Phil Garvey family, who Chief Warrant Officer for Phil Garvey was an Army pilot who flew combat missions in Vietnam and subsequently was shot down on the second to last day of the Gulf War in Iraq, executing an emergency extraction rescue mission for a downed F-16 fighter pilot. Phil had 8 soldiers on board that day, and they found themselves flying over a Republican Guard unit. They were shot down. 5 soldiers were killed on impact, and 3 survived. Major Rhonda Cornum, female flight surgeon, was on that aircraft, and wasn't really supposed to be on that aircraft, but she was, and she survived. One of the 3 survivors. She survived a gunshot wound and 2 broken arms, and was actually sexually assaulted on her way to being taken to captivity, where she was in captive for 5 days, and the war end came. She was released, and she subsequently rose to the rank of Brigadier General and was retired in 2012 in the Army General Medical Corps. So Stan knows the family, Phil Garvey, fairly well at this point, and he has been championing the effort to bring the Persian Gulf War Memorial to Veterans Memorial Park at Pensacola, where there is no representation of the first Gulf War. And that was how we at the park board met Stan initially, and through his successful persuasion of the foundation members to approve bringing a Persian Gulf War Memorial, he got to meet other folks that are in this room, and was really inspired by the Gold Star family's initiative, and so he's joined that effort. And his inventory of rather valuable items that have been pulled from these homes throughout our community for the last couple of years, he is now gathering and inventorying and getting ready for sale. In fact, he's already sold over $20,000 worth of these items, and it's 100% of those, the sale of those items are being contributed to the park to offset the cost of these 2 memorials. We have about $100,000 or $110,000 total bill expected for both memorials, and so he's already raised between 15 and 25% of the total cost, all by himself. So the third way to support financially is to get involved with the Bellevue Site Contractors initiative to sell these items of value, if you will, which include home appliances, HVAC units, indoor, outdoor, got doors.
We have everything.
Windows.
Very modern kitchen cabinets, nice Hunter fans, any very nice vanities. If anyone's building a new home in Pensacola area right now, or just renovating an old home somewhere, all this stuff is guaranteed, and it can save a lot of money, and it's going to one of the most worthwhile organizations that you could ever be associated with.
Is there ever like a time where before memorials for Persian Gulf that was 20 years ago?
Persian Gulf War?
Yeah.
We're going on 30.
Yeah. 30, okay. Lose track of time. The numbers aren't always especially. Is there a certain time that has to pass before you will have a memorial for something like the Persian Gulf War?
No.
Or is it just up to the people that want to make one?
There used to be discussion about that. The war has to be over for 10 years, then we'll do memorials. Well, guess what? The global war on terror, there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
And it ain't happening. So we're already at 17 years of sustained person in our nation's history, almost by double, with the Vietnam War being 10 years.
Yeah.
We're at 17 now, and it's still going. Of course, it's a lot different than the Vietnam War. But there's a lot of communities throughout the nation that are not patient enough to wait, and there are global war on terror memorials showing up all over this country. We have one in a 3-phase project at the park. We're on phase 2 complete, and phase 3 is just a gigantic fundraising project that we haven't stepped off into that realm yet. We'd like to get these two more else up first.
Do you have any questions, Donny?
I think everything I have is covered.
Yeah, you folks have just been contributing wonderfully, so my question is, just checking things off as we kind of go through these. The other thing I have left, and I want to talk about Anger a little bit, we're going to do that, but what would this memorial mean to you, to have the Gold Star Memorial? You can think for a minute. Yeah,
What it means, it's not what it means to us personally. It's what it means to the people who we care most about. Those are the families that made the sacrifice or contribution, depending on how you look at it. You know, they made a contribution to this country to do jobs that other people didn't want to do. And they did it with honor and dignity. And the families should be appreciated.
Anybody else have a story they want to add?
Well, I mean, going back to your question, I feel like the main, the power between, like, behind the memorials is the fact that it's for remembrance, and you can be someone maybe not necessarily connected, but still wanting to garner that knowledge. So for someone that doesn't necessarily know what a Gold Star family is, that memorial will teach them.
I think that's critical, what you're saying, because, like I said, I didn't know what Gold Star was. I don't know how much awareness you had. I think within the veteran community, people know exactly. But, like I said, there's a lot of places in this country, because you were talking about Afghanistan and the war that's still going on there. That's not really touching people who aren't directly involved. We don't have, military overhead from foreign countries, with terrorism, that's a different kind of thing. But people don't have like a daily, tangible reminder that there's a war in Afghanistan going on right now.
Yeah.
And so I think something like this is a way to remind folks that not only are we losing, people that are making the ultimate sacrifice, we're also having families that those people are leaving behind. And it's just a tremendous education effort, if nothing else. People see, Gold Star Memorial. Someone's going to ask a question. That 5-year-old with you is like, what's Gold Star family? And then you start the process. Well, let me tell you, and it kind of goes from there. And then you start, as you were saying, a lifetime of patriotism. So, yeah.
Right on.
Anybody else have anything they want to add? First of all, I want to thank you all for coming today. Absolutely. This has been amazing. And so the videos will be available on our crack production team. Get them all set, and feel free to show them everywhere they're yours. This is why we did this. So thank you. Anybody last thing on Dave? You want the last word? You don't have to.
No,
we've covered everything.
I'm really interested to see, because I got a little experience with post-work and video editing, not actually doing the editing. I have zero experience in that, but working with videographers and production teams to create video for like that band and all that. And there's a lot of valuable messaging took place tonight. And typically with the way the current generation on the internet operates, it's in small but powerful doses is how we affect change and get messages out and be successful in social media campaigns, which Slater is really focusing on, and fundraising. So, like I said, I think there's a lot of really good content that was tonight, but I think a lot more can be had when we now take this kind of group setting and maybe talk amongst ourselves, see what comes out of this thing from a post-op or production level, and then kind of schedule the next follow-on shows, either in a studio or wherever you want to. We're here. This is always, well, you're always welcome to come here. Because there's a lot of people that want to get involved and want to support. And what happens when they get in front of a camera or a microphone or whatever, they share that desire to support, because sometimes people say they want to support, but they don't really mean it, or they don't have follow-through. But for the ones that do, by conducting an interview, it kind of makes it that much more real for that individual. And when it's real for that individual and they execute, man, do they feel good about it. Being part of supporting something like this. Because so many people want to help, they don't know how. What we want to do with this work is show people how to get involved, whether it's through online donations or a follow-on interview with you two guys talking about it. There's some folks, like I said earlier, that really want to support, and I can't wait to get Kim Vanderlearn. She is the Vice President of United Healthcare and Optum, which is tremendous. He happens to be live on the west side of town, and she sent me an email today, said she couldn't make this, but she's in Maine right now. She really wants to support through underwriting, which means she'll underwrite a fundraiser event, and that's when you guys would run an interview. Underwrite meaning pay for food stuff and all that. And then Christy McCord would also like to support.
Well, we do make fairly long videos at an age when 2 minutes is a long time for the folks with a very short attention span. That's your generation here. I shall have some fun. We haven't really done a lot of the stuff we normally do on our videos. But these are designed to be watched in pieces. Watch 5 minutes, watch 10 minutes. Come back to it, watch it a little bit more. You don't have to sit for the whole thing all the way through because there is so much information here. And all these folks have incredible stories. You want to kind of take one, think about it, then come back to it a little bit later, think about the next story you hear. And that way, in fact, we should have a little thing in our credits. Feel free to watch this and don't watch it all at once because there is so much that we do here. But we want to be able to tell stories, even though we are in an age where everything is like 30 seconds or less. You can't put life stories, for the folks that into a 2 minute. I don't know. That's not doing people justice. And I wanted to, that's why I said we don't have rules for how long we want to talk. I want you to be able to do that because this is kind of like a living history we're doing right here. And so from that, we can then go hopefully inspire other folks, who will watch this, who will see this, who will maybe get involved. Maybe there are families out there that, just they have current veterans who are recently back who don't know where to go. They can come and say, okay, well, let me talk to a Gold Star family because they're already connected to a group. Maybe they can help me somehow, some way. So you might find just a whole bunch of different folks getting in touch with you as this goes through. And so we'll make this video, we'll send it out, and we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. This is the Greg and Donny Show. You can catch us on our Greg and Donny News Show Facebook page and the Greg and Donny News Show YouTube channel, which if you become a subscriber, we can go live with YouTube and we can get you more videos from there. All right. Okay.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
See you next time.